Well, here we are at the Flow Hive again. This year we had a bumper honey crop in here, and the top super up here, what's well known as the honey super extraction method, they're special frames. What we're going to do today is take a look, see which frames that we can actually harvest from, and we're going to go ahead and do the thing where we put the tubes in, we turn the crank, we're going to fill a bucket of honey up. And a lot of people use jars, and you can do that. But for me, I'm just going to put all the honey that I find here into a big 4 or 5 gallon honey bucket. That way I can easily fill my smaller jars. It would be hard here with the honey flowing fast to fill up my smaller jars. I know you can do it, but I'd rather have better control. So let's go in here first and lift up the frames and see if we feel like they're harvestable. And by that I mean mostly capped over. So let's get started. So these little turnkeys is what keeps our top cover down, and they screw into the box. So by loosening those, we can lift our top off. All right. And we have an inner cover. And just under this inner cover is going to be the bees. So let's get our smoker ready, make sure it's running good. Okay, I can hear them in there. And I like these hive tools, the J-hook. They're beveled really nice. Get a little smoke under there. Don't take it all off at once, just start smoking. And use as little of smoke as possible on your honey super, just enough to keep things safe for you so you don't get stung. All right. A lot of propolis this year. My bees do produce a lot of propolis, don't they? Let's be where I live. Look at all the propolis in there. Okay. You see how beautifully it's coated with propolis? It's great, isn't it? That's really a lot of propolis, yeah. We try to harvest that and keep it. Some people eat propolis for good health. Okay, now what we'll do, these are the Flow Hive frames. And let's count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think Brad left a comment and he said one of these produces an equal amount of honey that's equal to a deep and a shallow. I believe that's what he said. So they do produce a lot of honey. Now you can see here, look how the propolis has kind of joined them together. A little bit of burr comb, but propolis. And that'll make it harder to kind of lift up, but I think they'll rise above that easily. I actually bought this with my own money just so that I could, get familiar with it. So by lifting this one up, I'm expecting it not to be capped over and ready for harvest because it's the one that's against the wall. Free my hand here. And usually the ones against the walls are not as capped over. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, that's what I expected. Not capped over. So this is not harvestable. And let's leave this one out. Give us a little more room. The reason that I'm not afraid to tackle new things is a phrase that I use on my videos a lot. Sometimes you just got to cowboy up and get her done. So if you're kind of reserved about trying a different type of hive or a different technique or a different treatment, don't let fear keep you from experimenting and trying things. Cowboy up. I think we're going to try to make a shirt that says something like that. Just got to cowboy up. By the way, these are extremely heavy. So they do hold, it is nothing like picking up a deep frame of honey. This is much heavier than that. Wow. On my side, it's not capped over all the way at the bottom. On this side, it pretty much is. Let me show you the other side. These are heavy. They're tough to manipulate. You can see there, not all the way capped over. But also there's no honey in there. So I could uncap these. Everything that is capped and whatever isn't capped wouldn't be honey that wasn't ripe yet. Let's put it that way. So I could take that one. Okay, I'm gonna look at one more. I've been working today without any gloves on and without a bee suit and have not been stung yet, knock on wood. And I knock on wood and get stung because my knocking probably made the bees mad. All right, wow, you gotta be strong to work a flow hive. Okay, we're just getting that little bit at the bottom that isn't capped over. And that's not going to be a problem. The problem with taking honey off, if it's not at the proper moisture level, is that it can ferment in your bottles, buckets, and kind of turn to vinegar, not be any good. This one's good on my side. What do you got, Pat?
Yeah.
Good down?
Good to me.
Okay. And the next one is too. So what we're going to do, we're going to take, well, if we have room, I brought a bucket, so if we have room, we'll do one frame at a time, but we're going to take everything except the two outsides, maybe? Let me look again. I got to check this one. Last year, when I ran this hive, they did not make any honey for me. It was a wash. Yeah, this one, that was the one that didn't have any more honey on it. It was all capped over what was there. So we're going to take everything but the two outside walls. All right. Oh, small hive beetle, got it. A couple more beetles here though. See if I can kill them. Ooh, it's hard to kill beetles on these plastic frames. A lot of beetles, well, 4 or 5 in there. Yeah, you just can't smash them down like you normally would in a comb. It's like playing a game with these beetles here. Yeah, that's a little harder to kill beetles on these plastic frames, for sure. Well, I got 2 of them for sure. 3. I've got 3 more down here I'd love to kill. Not gonna happen. Let's get these back in here. All right, let's get a lid on it because we're gonna take off all the honey we can except the 2 against the wall. You can look in these side windows and that'll tell you a lot about if these outside frames are capped over all the way. So in this case you can see that's pretty much open. Oops. All right, let's get into some harvest time. Granddaddy Longlegs. So what we want to do now is take this little door off here. And then we're going to set it down here on the bottom. Lock it in position. Like that. Let's do it with the little knob below on the bottom. Because I want to put my bucket on here and that knob will interfere. There we go. Now, will my bucket sit there? We'll see. I've never tried to harvest it with a bucket before, but I think it might work well for me. I've got a bucket with a strainer, so get the strainer here, and I'm thinking about just doing one at a time and letting it flow right into here. Always remember, close your honey gate, so double check that. Make sure it's tight before you start filling up your bucket. All right, so let's start With one that's easiest in the center. Now, I've had trouble getting these off. Somebody said use a pair of pliers, which I didn't bring, so let's use the Hive tool for leverage, see if we pull this off here. There we go. Not sure where to put this, but I don't want to lose it. All right, now we'll insert our tube. So this has a little edge at the bottom that goes in like this. Here we go. All right, so what we have at the top are these little, we have to pull these off. So I open the correct one. So we're going to insert the key in the bottom, and I'm not going to go all the way back. I'm going to just go a little ways, and then we're going to turn it. And as we turn it, it's going to open up the frames. And that is very hard to turn. I'm going to go to the edge. Looks like some of that's sticking. All right. I'm going to go back a little more, open it a little bit more at a time. Nothing's flowing yet. Here it comes. All right. I got the hive elevated toward the back a little bit. There we go. A little bit more each time. Getting further to the back. All right. I think it's mostly open that I can tell. All right. It's always a bottom slot that opens and the top slot that closes it. Whew. It looks like it slopes back a little bit. I see a bubble coming, don't you? Like right here, it looks solid until there. I got to sample that and see what it tastes like. Ooh, clover. Wow, very good. I love honey. There's just something about the taste of honey that makes everything sweet. Oh my gosh. It even looks like clover honey in color.
Pretty light.
It is light. Yeah. It's extremely sweet. You know, some honeys to me are sweeter than other honey. It's amazing. Well, here it comes, frame number 2. Is this easier than harvesting honey? That's the question. I would say it's easier than having to uncap your own frames, and then easier than having to spin it, things like that. You don't have to take the frames out of the hive, of course. That's probably the most challenging thing for most beekeepers, is getting the supers out of the hive. So that's kind of the easiest thing here. This still takes a little bit of work, but it's a lot easier. It definitely is. And if you had a bottle right now, you could just pour it directly into your bottle and you're done. So it does have a lot of ease to it for sure. It's a pretty warm day today, and I think the warm weather would help a lot. It's pushing probably mid 80s right now with a high of 91. So we're close to high 80s Fahrenheit. So that would make the honey flow pretty well at that temperature. I think on a cooler day, if you were in your 60s, low 70s, the honey is going to be a little thicker, flow a little slower, but it's flowing fast right now. Okay, how far are we in now? We're 2 minutes and 42 seconds in. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's
Golly,
good.
that's what I thought.
Is it slowing down a little?
It is slowing down, yeah. Yeah, still pretty full. Toward the back, it's still got a pretty good height back there, I guess. That's the one thing that is difficult to know is just how long do you keep the valve open and when is it finally done? I mean, you could leave it open for hours and I think there'd still be some dripping out, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to keep it open for hours. So what we've been doing is just waiting until the level in the tube gets lower and the drip gets really almost insignificant. If the wind starts blowing, the drip, you know, how honey just makes this long line, if the wind can blow that, it's almost over. It's not very windy, and I've seen the wind start to blow it. So we're getting closer to almost being drained out, and now we're 4.5 minutes in. So it looks like you're going to get a bulk of it drained out in 5 minutes. I will say too, if you look at these frames right here, I've said it in several videos, this section that goes to the middle, this is this frame here, this little thin piece of plastic wall meets up against this little thin piece of plastic wall. And they're not really 1/8 of an inch, these little walls. That makes up this edge. And we were lifting up these frames, and as you can see, like right here, there's a little gap there. There's enough room where you can mess this up and actually let the bees out. So you're going to have to make sure that these frames are kind of back together good. If you pull them out and start manipulating them, you can mess up those gaps. All right, well that's 7 minutes, so now we're going to close it up and move to the next one. When I close it, I can get by with closing it going all the way in because we've kind of freed it up to move pretty easily at this point, all the way at one time. So we've closed it up, just double check, yep. All right, now I'm gonna let that drain just another minute just to get that out of the tube, not to make such a mess. It makes a little bit of a mess here when you pull your tube out. And during the fall, you may want to wipe that up with a wet rag to prevent robbing. You don't want other robber bees to, you know, if it drips down the front of your hive here, that could attract robbers. They'll work their way in the front of the hive eventually. Well, that was a lot of fun. And I think the conclusion is this is a lot easier. It's a lot more simple to extract honey, mainly because you don't have to take out the frames and cut the wax open, you know, get the bees off the frames, cut the wax open like you do traditional Langstroth hive, although I still love doing it that way. But this is much easier to turn the crank. And look, we brought it up to about right here, which we think is about 2.5 gallons. So maybe 30-ish something pounds of honey. Out of 5 frames, there were 7 in there. 2 we didn't feel comfortable taking. They weren't capped over all the way on the other one side, but 5 looked capped over good. So, you know, all in all, we did good on it. I'm proud to get this honey the first year. Didn't get any last year, so it's good to finally get the Flow Hive to work good for us. We had a pretty good slope on getting the honey to drip down toward the back. We had good temperatures in the mid to high 80s to make the honey flow a little better. So all in all, it's a fun hive to have. You still have to work the hive the same way you do a Langstroth. Still have to do hive inspections, Mite Control. Yet it's nothing different except the extraction is just easier than having to remove the frames, cut the wax cappings, and spin it in an extractor. Now, if you do have the traditional Langstroth hive, I encourage you to watch a video that I made on how to take honey from the hive to the bottle. Check it out right here. I'll see you guys over there.